What is going on, everybody? It's Sacred Eagle, and today we have another Friday night, and I'm going to go through the injury reports of the Cardinals at Eagles game this Sunday. Man, I did this last week with the Chargers and the Eagles, and I'm going to do the same thing with this week. And yeah, let's get right to it. There's not that many injuries in this game, at least not that many people out. There are a couple of people questionable on both sides of the football, but nobody that's like really important to both teams except for one for the Eagles, and I'm going to go through that right now. So for a second straight game, the Philadelphia Eagles confirmed that Fletcher Cox is going to be out with that calf injury, and I understand why, and we did pretty good without him last week. We don't want him to have that injury come back and bite him in the ass again, because this calf injury is apparently very prone to linger, and we don't want to deal with that, especially with how well the season has gone so far and how well the team is coming together. And this is the kind of game where you would expect this team to come together as a unit, as a full-on unit, on offense, on defense, firing on all cylinders. Sure, we're missing some people, like Ron Darby and all that, but excuse me, in the end, I just like the fact that we're not rushing Fletcher Cox, even though he was questionable for last week's game, and then we ruled him out like Saturday. We're ruling him out 2 days prior to this upcoming game. I like that. I don't want to rush him. I don't want him to be injured at all going into the rest of the season. So, and another guy that's out, we all know this, is Ron Darby. There's a lot of rumors that Sidney Jones is going to return against the Redskins at the Link in 2.5 weeks from now on October 23rd on Monday Night Football. So they're putting that together. Ron Darby coming back at the latest of his recovery. What was expected of his recovery, 4 to 6 weeks. He would come back week 7, and then Sidney Jones will come back 6 months after his ACL was torn. The exact timetable that we had him going to, potentially return if all went well with his rehab and all of that stuff. So hearing that kind of gets me excited about what the secondary could possibly be this year. If he's not able to, I wouldn't be too upset with it because I don't want to rush him. I want this guy to be 100% whenever he's able to come into play. So, in the end, Ron Darby being out, that's fine. Let that ankle get back to 100% so he can get that rematch with the Redskins, which, by the way, they won't have their number one corner playing against us, but we'll have our number one going up against them. So keep an eye out for that. And as questionable, the main guys I just want to target, there's 4 guys here, but I'm going to target the guys that are really important, and there's only like 2 of them. So, running back Wendell Smallwood is battling a knee injury. I believe he practiced a little bit the past couple of days, but he's still day-to-day. He's going to be a game-time decision. So we'll see how that goes. He had a pretty solid game alongside with LeGarrette Blount the past 2 weeks. Same with Corey Clement. They were all doing really well, getting like 6 to 10 touches total combined out of all of them, and it's good to see what we've been doing running the ball lately. And Arizona could be another test for us, specifically because they have an actual defense that's better off battling the run than the Giants and the Chargers were. So we can see how they go this week if Wendell Smallwood is a full go. I expect him to be a full go, but just a little bit limited. Get Corey Clement started up a little bit more, and maybe even Kenyon Bonner, depending if Wendell Smallwood is not going to come into play. So we'll see how that goes. Jalen Watkins is still questionable with the hamstring, and same as Corey Graham. I almost said Corey Davis. Corey Graham with that hamstring injury. So that's all well and good. This team isn't as injured as we think it to be. It's really just the defense, and that's it. The secondary, and that's it. Moving on to the Cardinals. DJ Humphries, an offensive tackle, he's out with a knee injury. That could play big for us, especially against Carson Palmer, getting some blitzing packages on him and everything. We could see how that goes. And then they have a defensive lineman in Robert whatever with the calf injury. He's out as well. I don't want to butcher his name. I do that a lot with these kind of names that are like, that started with like an NK, like this is these weird starting, I'm not going to deal with that. But yeah, they're missing a defensive lineman and an offensive tackle, so we'll see how that goes. But they also have a couple wide receivers that are questionable. J.J. Nelson, and then John Brown. John Brown with a quad, and then J.J. Nelson with a hamstring and a tooth injury, which is kind of weird. But yeah, it's all interesting. Both of these 2 teams aren't really that banged up, minus, of course, what's happening on the injury reserve. David Johnson's not going to be back for another 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, depending on how well he's recuperating. and all that stuff. So we'll see how this game goes. I almost said the season. We'll see how this game goes. Not much to talk about with this injury report, but hey, tell me in the comments down below, or if you guys are worried at all about Cox and Darby and whatever. If you guys are worried about this upcoming game in general, tell me what you guys think. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys on Sunday when I talk about this game, because it's going to be a hell of a good game and a frickin' rematch after 2015. We got to get this one, guys. So let's go.